First of all, thank you very much for being here. And here today's topic is affective touch and C-tactile fibers from neurophysiology to haptic design. So I will be talking more in terms of like the anatomy, physiology, the neurophysiology, and also like how we can interpret those for haptic design. That will be looking at today. So here a simple question to everyone. So we are all here together in a virtual space, right? So we can see each other, we can hear each other, we can even talk to each other. But can we shake hands? Like imagine I could shake hands with each of you, feel your grip, maybe sense how firm or soft it is. Like would it be what would it take to build such a system? Like for example, these are some of the examples people have tried. Maybe for example, a wearable glove with different motors and like sensors that can give you a realistic sense of handshake. And this is another picture where researchers have tried handshaking between Japan and Taiwan. And there is even like transatlantic touch paper, which you can search, where people have tried lifting an object from between two different continents. And so, what do we need to do to recreate a handshake, for example? Handshake is not a single signal, and it would involve force, pressure, movement, timing, and skin deformation. So, it may also involve temperature, moisture, softness, and stiffness as well. So you can think of it like an engineering challenge. So we need to capture some physical interaction. In this case, a handshake is a physical interaction, and we need to transmit it digitally and reproduce it through a device, just like what we have for visual displays, visual digital displays. We have we actually record it and save it digitally and transmit it digitally and reproduce it through a device like monitors and like even VR headsets and a lot of things. Similarly, can we do that for touch as well? So is that all? Like because three steps I have given simply: capture physical interaction, transmit it digitally, reproduce it through a device. So do we have anything more towards it? Like for example, are there any design challenges? So this is one example. A group from Disney. So they have tried to build this wearable, and they try to mimic that physical interaction through this wearable gloves, where you can feel force from various directions and various axes, so that it can mimic the real handshake. So as an engineer, one would ask, like, how do we capture and reproduce touch? But as a designer, one would ask, like, what aspects of touch really matter, and what should the user feel, and how realistic enough the touch should be. And but first, before going into all these things, we must try to understand how body senses touch and how the brain processes it. Touch is not just understanding force and like all the engineering aspects, and we also need to consider the design aspects as well. But more than these, our body is not just sensing the touch; we are also feeling the touch. All these things we will be seeing it today. So we already do this for vision, not just for touch. For example, modern displays are highly advanced, and because we understand optics and light very much, we understand visual neuroscience, we understand perception and psychology well enough to build sophisticated visual displays, which allows realistic images and immersive experiences. So this is an example of like how we understood a visual pathway. For example, we have eyes, left visual field, and then we have right visual field, and you can see how these information are passed on to the brain and how they are getting processed. The details of how what we understood from the visual processing in the brain is at the point of like the peak, and we are still trying to understand a lot in visual pathway. But can we achieve the same for other senses? So that's the main central question here. And in this lecture, we will explore how touch is sensed, and how different receptors respond, and how the brain processes touch. Just a second. Yeah. And how the brain processes touch, and how we perceive physical interaction. So, and then we can ask, is touch is only about sensing, or there anything more than what we sense through our fingers or through our body, through our skin. Uh, Traditionally, we have five senses: vision, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. And but based on what I searched, like we have more than 20 senses. Like it can include proprioception, our awareness of body position in space, or balance, temperature, pain, interoception. There are a lot more senses than we understand, and which we are actually using it every day to interact with our physical world. And we experience touch every day, like through holding a phone, or like touching our garments or the clothes, or walking on different surfaces. So there are like some touches can help us sense the world, and some touches help us how we feel actually. uh, I hope I'm audible so far.
Yes, you are.
Okay, okay, sure. So, as I mentioned, like we experience touch every day, and some touches help us sense the world, and some like change how we feel in a way that how the touch is conveyed to us. And so that comes to the basic question: what is haptics? Haptics is a science of touch and interaction through skin. And in the next slide, I'll also show you it's not just about the skin, but it allows us to detect a contact that is made throughout our body, and we can perceive texture, we can feel vibration, we can sense force and pressure, and a lot more actually. And it is essential for interacting with the physical world, as we know. And this image is an just an example, or like an illustration of our skin column. You can see that this is just maybe 2 to 3 mm of our skin column. And you can see that we have epidermis and dermis, and then the subcutaneous tissue. And within these regions, we have a variety of receptors. And we have four major mechanoreceptors. The first four that you see here, the various shapes that you see over here. The first one is called Meissner, then the next one is called Pacinian, then the third one is called Merkel, and the fourth one is called Ruffini. I don't know in engineering if you heard about something called frequency division multiplexing, and then the time division multiplexing. Uh, I hope you have some background in engineering, these kind of multiplexing as well. But we can assume that we can say that each of these receptors respond to different frequency and different qualities of touch. For example, the first one, the Meissner, they are responsible for mild low frequency vibrations, and then the Pacinian ones are really good in sensing, or really sensitive to high frequency vibrations. For example, if someone is banging the door, and you can feel it on your body, then your Pacinian corpuscles in your body gets activated. Any vibration that you feel, someone is drilling in the next door, or like if someone somewhere you can feel any vibration, then these Pacinian corpuscles throughout your body gets activated. And we also have Merkel disc. When you hold an object like this, if you can see my video, when you hold an object like this, I'm applying steady pressure to my fingertips, right? And these steady pressure is sensed by Merkel. And while holding this object, you can also feel that your skin is stretched. The stretch of the skin is sensed by the Ruffini endings. So these four major mechanoreceptors, as I said, like they convey different qualities of touch. For example, if I move my fingers over this object, then the first two receptors get activated. But when I hold an object like this, then the next two receptors get activated. And apart from these four mechanoreceptors, we also have hair and nerve fibers, and also free nerve endings. Because no, we do not have similar kind of touch sensitivity throughout our body. And these receptors, the density of the count of these receptors change for different parts of the body. For example, in our fingertip, we have a high density of receptors. For our fingertips, we have high density of receptors. And for example, the the back of the neck, or like even of calf muscles, the skin over the calf muscles, they have very less density of receptors. So we need to understand how these are actually conveying various touch information to our brain, so that we can decode the various properties, the various physical properties of an object. And as I was mentioning, like haptics is more than a skin. Like the skin receptors that I was explaining in the previous slide here is just about tactile sensation. This is something called tactile, and we also have something called kinesthetic sensation. For example, when I hold the same object, I can feel the of the object, and I can also feel the size of an object. So all these information are conveyed to the brain through the kinesthetic senses. And we also have under haptics, we also consider other senses like proprioception, which is the awareness of our body position in space. And also we have thermal perception, which is like temperature of like hot and cold. And we also have pain sensation, which is also called nociception. So all these are considered together as haptic sensation, and we using these senses we can perceive the properties of the physical properties of an object, or we can control our movement in space, or we can maintain our balance, the body balance, when we walk or run. So all these are under this haptic sensation. We call it as human haptics. And these human haptic sensations are distributed throughout the body, as I was mentioning. And using this, we interact with the world in a way we can interact like active or passive. For example, if I actively touch this object, then it's called active interaction. And this dress that I'm wearing is passively touching me, so it is called passive touch. So if that clarity is clear, then I'll just give you a short summary of various receptors that we have in our body to sense uh, the haptic information around us. So we have tactile, kinesthetic, proprioception, thermal, and pain, and these are the receptors associated with these modality, and these are the functions of each of these receptors. So, going further, the brain integrates all of them into a unified perception, so that we get a, an unified information about an object, or with what we are interacting with. And as I was mentioning before, like these receptors, or the major four mechanoreceptors, are tuned to specific frequencies, and our human vibration perception is really good at. So in this curve, if you can see, the lower the point, the better our perception is. So which means that the lowest point will have the highest sensitivity in our body, in our skin. So for example, we are more sensitive at specific frequency, which is around like 250 hertz, 200 to 250 hertz. And uh, and most of our vibration motors are like the vibratory stimulus. For example, even your phone's vibration are designed to vibrate in this frequency. And uh, as I was mentioning, like we have physical stimulus, and we try to map it to various perception, like for example, force, vibration, texture, or converted to the perception through neural signals. And we can measure it. There is a way to measure how we perceive this. For example, similarly, how we measure the color perception in psychology. We have a specific field called psychophysics that can measure what force that we can perceive, what vibration that we can perceive, and what are the frequencies that we can perceive through these measures, which are called thresholds, J&D, and the scaling of perception. So, to give you an overall picture of neural processing of touch, let's say we have two types of skin. One is a non-hairy skin, which is also called glabrous skin, and we have hairy skin as well, which is we can find it on your forearm and or your thighs as well. And these two regions of skin have different densities of receptors. For example, the non-hairy skin, or predominant with the four major mechanoreceptors I was showing in the previous slides, but the hairy skins are predominant with something called CT receptors, which are responsible for pleasure sensation, which I will explain later as well. And all these information goes to one specific region of the brain called somatosensory cortex, which is the vertical strip. Like you can see where my headphone is resting on. Like in this part, we have a specific region of brain called somatosensory cortex, and the right side of your body's touch will be sensed or will be received on the left side of your somatosensory cortex. Likewise, and you have this pathway that goes from your peripheral skin to your spinal cord, then to the somatosensory cortex. So in between, we also have thalamus, which I have not shown here. But this is the overall picture of the neural processing of touch here. And like, why should we care about affective touch? Because that's the title that we are talking about. So far we are discussing a touch in terms of vibration, force, texture, localization, right? And but human touch is not just about saying vibration, force, or texture, but it's also linked to comfort, bonding, caregiving, and emotional communication. So therefore, touch has two key roles. One is sensing the external world, and also regulating social and emotional experience. So. Uh, we can say that from the literature, like there are two functional dimensions of touch. So one is the discriminative touch, through which we are actually talking about the engineering qualities of touch, like what is it, where is the stimulus from, and what type of stimulus is this, how strong is the force, and all these things. There is another type of touch which is called affective touch, where we ask questions like, does the touch feel pleasant, and is it comforting or affiliative? Does it carry any social meaning to it? So both these systems normally work together in our natural touch, but we try to understand it in a way that we can build effective haptic systems. So as I was mentioning in the previous slides, like discriminative touch has a distinctive pathway, for example, from skin to spinal cord, then to thalamus, and then to the somatosensory cortex, as I was showing in the previous slides. So these are carried by specific nerve fibers. You can assume it like a wires that carry current, right? So here we have nerve fibers that carry neural information uh, from the receptors to the brain. So specifically for discriminative touch, we have fibers which are called fast conducting myelinated. Myelinated means like extra thicker, and we have like they are more highly precise. So they enable perception of like texture, vibration, edges, and object shape, etc. And their major cortical destination is primary somatosensory cortex. And if we talk about affective touch, and we are talking about emotional dimension of tactile interaction, and they are often associated with gentle stroking, a caressing touch, or affiliative social contact. And a major contributor of this particular affective touch is called C-tactile afferent, or in short, we can call CT afferent. In general, afferent means any information carried uh, to the brain. For example, all the nerves that goes from your body to the brain, they are called afferent. And any nerves that goes from the brain to your body, to your parts of different parts of the body, then they are called efferents. Especially when we want to move our hands, when we want to walk, then the efferent nerves carry the movement signals from the brain to your muscles. And now we are talking here, we are mainly talking about afferents, which carry information from your skin or from your other parts of the body to the brain. So these fibers are thought to support affective qualities of touch, and generally C-tactile afferents are unmyelinated. If you remember in the discriminative touch, I was telling about afferents are myelinated because they are thicker. Here you can assume unmyelinated ones are thinner, they are slow conducting, and they are low threshold, which means that they respond to very mild touch. And they are primarily found in hairy skin, as I was mentioning before, And typical experimental sites that we use to understand these receptors, they are forearm, back, and thigh actually. And the type of stimulus that we apply is gentle dynamic stroking. And this is another way of looking skin column, and where you can see that the hairy skin has this extra receptor, which is called C-tactile receptor, CT receptors. So this is the main difference compared to a normal touch. For example, when I'm holding an object like this, my phone like this, then I have information going to the brain through the fibers called A beta fibers. But if someone gives me, if my mom or if my wife gives me a gentle caress on my forearm, then in that case, like you have CT fibers getting activated, and these are the properties of CT fibers. If this distinction is clear, so from a discriminative touch and affective touch, we need to have a clear distinction. And one more point, like as I was mentioning, we are talking about a slow, gentle stroke on your hairy skin, and how slow it should be. How what is the velocity of this stroking, and does that impact our or how we feel emotionally the touches? And the researchers have found approximately 1 to 10 centimeters per second, like not too slow, but at the same time, like they found the peak around like 3 centimeters per second. Like 3 centimeters per second stroke on your forearm would feel more pleasant compared to any speed more than 10 centimeters per second. So this pleasantness ratings follow an inverted U-shaped relationship, which I will explain in the next slide. And you cannot have a pleasant sensation have any extremely low or extremely fast stroking. And you can see that this is the first image that you see over here is the recording from the nerves. And you can see that these CT fibers or the afferents or the nerve fibers get activated more when the speed is 3 centimeters per second. You can see the peak over here. Like approximately you can say 1 to 10 centimeters per second, but if I zoom in, and then you will have a real peak around like 3 centimeters per second. And this is just a recording, but not the preference by uh, uh, the users or the humans. But when people asked which speed it feels pleasant, in that case, like they also found around like 1 to 10 centimeters per second feels more pleasant. And they compared it with normal touch, like in the palm. We can say that these first two figures are for the forearm gentle stroke, and they tried to do the same gentle stroke on your palm, and they found there is no relation to the pleasantness on the palm. So, as I said, like inverted U shape is what they observed when they plotted between pleasantness or the firing frequency versus the velocity here. And we can obviously compare the hairy skin versus the glabrous skin. The CT afferents are mainly found in hairy skin, like forearm, back, face, legs. And in general, glabrous skin will include like palm, fingertips, or even the lips, etc. And usually, when we talk about affective touch, we try to compare the stroking on the forearm and the palm. So now we spoke about like affective touch brain pathways, not the affective touch, but the discriminative touch. But what about affective touch? So as I said, like discriminative touch mainly projects to somatosensory cortex. But the CT related signals project to the emotional area of the brain. It is not going to the somatosensory cortex. So that's why our CT fibers are directly related to the emotional touch. And insula is a brain region which is called posterior insular cortex. They are responsible for emotional processing as well. And these are like two parallel pathways. Like to keep it simple, I'll explain the flow here. You can start from the bottom. So you can assume that you are stroking on your forearm on the left, and you can assume that you are stroking on the palm on the right of this same figure, the first figure. And on the left, you can see it from the spinal cord, it goes to the insula directly. But insula is the emotional area of the brain. And from the right, it goes to the somatosensory cortex, where it is processed for understanding the details of the object. So understanding these two pathways are very essential to know to know how to build a better haptic devices. And this is just a recap of what I have shown you before, like the neural pathways of touch. And one thing you should understand, when you build a touch device or a haptic device, you should also think about the context. The context really matters, because who is touching, and what is the relationship between the one who is touched on being touched, and what are the expectations, what is the cultural context, because touch is not perceived similarly in all the culture. And all these things we should consider. And the same stimulus may feel comforting, neutral, or uncomfortable, depending on the context. So affective touch can come from anywhere, like a caregiver or parents, or it can be for stress reduction or for intimacy. But the implications for the haptic technology is mainly to say that we need not to focus only on the vibration, force feedback, or texture, but we also should ask, like, how comforting it is or how emotional the communication is. And this opens a new direction in social technology, touch technology, and also wearable haptics and human robot interaction, and also interaction with virtual humans. So these are the final design implications that we can consider from the CT research, which is the C-tactile research. So that's all. If you have any questions, I'll take. I hope I didn't overshoot the time.
No, you're absolutely fine. It was a very nice talk. Who knew that there were so many aspects and dimensions to touch? We are learning a lot, and I'm sure the students will have some questions. We'll open the floor for questions. You can either type it in the chat window or unmute your mic and speak, please. Meanwhile, do you have any examples of what you're working on, some devices or anything that you can tell us about in your research?
Yes, actually, I have one more presentation here, which I can show it.
Sure. Please have your questions ready. Meanwhile, we can look at what Dr. Madan is showing us here.
Okay, so I hope the slide is visible here now. And
Yes.
so this is one particular haptic device or haptic technology that I've been working on for the past 4 years. And this device, as you see over here, it can give you a sense of touch in midair. Like, for example, I couldn't zoom it here, but you can see there are some array of actuators over here. Like, there's 16 by 16, and each of them are there are 256 speakers over here, and each of them emit ultrasound. And they don't emit sound, but they normal sound, but they emit ultrasound, which is like 40 kilohertz, which human ears are not audible to it. And these ultrasounds, like, you can see that each of them are excited at different timings, and each of them emit ultrasound at different timings, and they all get added up in space at one point. That creates a pressure point over here, and that point can be felt over the skin using the palm or different parts of the body. But the sensation is not that great, like not like touching a switch or like feeling a vibration from your phone, but it's like a gentle blow on your palm, but using a straw. You can That's the closest possible example that I can give you. And using that, we can move this point that has been formed over here to make you feel different sensations. Like, we can draw some objects, or we can render some 3D and 2D objects so that you can feel them in midair, actually. So we have been using this for VR, virtual reality interactions, especially when we want to touch some uh, virtual objects or like even the virtual breeze or something like that. But the applications are limited. It's not really good for, we don't have any one universal haptic device for all kinds of applications. So we have to find a way how to use it. And there have been quite a few applications developed. For example, even they have tried it in BMW cars, in-car interaction, like without looking at a screen, can we have some kind of haptic interactions while driving? So that has been published as well. And uh, what we did is like we tried to understand the engineering aspects and the perceptual aspects of this device, and we published two papers in Kai, 2023 and 2024. I'm not sure if you know, the Kai is like a premium conference in HCI, Human Computer Interaction, and so we first tried to measure different physical quantities from this device, and we tried to map them into various perceptual qualities, like for example, the intensity, and even the emotional qualities like the valence and arousal as well. So we even conducted like various experiments, like can we feel different uh, uh, like letters or different numbers on the palm, like can we communicate using through this? So you can see that how a focal point or that ultrasound can be moved over your palm, so that something can be rendered on your palm actually. So that's what we studied. And as part of another experiment, like I tried to use this haptic device for emotional communication. So we asked participants to sit in two different like for example with screen in between them, and the receiver had three devices as you see over here. There is a device for forearm, and also there is one in the bottom for the palm and one for the lips as well. And we asked the sender to use this specific uh, user interface to draw over the lips, palm, and the forearm. And while the sender is drawing, the receiver will be able to feel it in real time. So this is the way to communicate emotions. And we came up with a lot of patterns with various participants, and we also conducted interviews on knowing how they came up with these kind of patterns. And we found a lot of similarities. For example, the first column is for the happiness, the middle one is for sadness, and then the right one is for the surprise. These three emotions from one couple here, and how they interacted at one particular trial. And you can see that and this is for another couple, and you can see how the similarities, the dots represent the taps. They try to tap over the palm or the lips or something like that, and the black and red lines indicate different frequencies and different parts of the body, like lips, palm, and forearm. And this is how we recorded their interaction. And yeah, we are actually still trying to explore it, and maybe we can try to explore it for haptic communication in future, especially at IIT Madras Touch Lab. We have this device called ITARD, through which we can actually the uh, feel various textures or various uh, um, uh, vibratory cues from the display itself. So, for example, in this experiment that I've shown, the receiver is receiving a haptics, but sender is not receiving any touch sensation here. They're just touching the screen. But can we use this type of screen to build it and maybe use it for haptic communication? So that's all from me.
Thank you, Dr. Madhan. So, do we
Thank
have
you.
any questions?
So
Hi,
if you don't have any, yeah, please go on.
hi, Madan. I'm Priya. I have a small question. I'm not really sure if it's fully in the context of your talk, but I'm really curious to understand how Meta's neural band fits into, haptic research, because that is the only consumer-facing haptic device I've come across. But all your
I think. sorry to interfere. Like, as far as I understand, the metaneural band is mainly based on the EMG, I guess, if I'm not
Okay.
wrong. Because for various finger movements, you will get different signals, because these finger movements are controlled by these muscles and tendons over here. And you are actually receiving the movements, the various signals from these muscles for each and every finger movements that you make.
Okay.
Even it is now improved so much, because during my PhD in 2017, like I remember using one myoband from our lab, a touch lab, and it was good, but it's not that accurate. But now I think they are at a point where we can even sense how we write using our fingertips in air, actually using on our thighs or something like that. So, and I wouldn't call that as a haptic device. It's more like a sensing device.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Great talk, by the
Thank you.
way.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Or if you have any questions later on, or like if you are interested in asking or discussing anything specific, you can always reach out to me. I think I have shared my. Okay, I can also share my email in case if you are interested. Like,
Yes, if you can just put it here on the message.
yeah.
we- Yes, this will
So
be
if there are no questions, thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Madhan Kumar, and for spending the time and giving this very interesting webinar. We will close the session with this. Thank you to all the attendees who attended today.
Thank you.